Alright, so today we're going to talk about the wrong color rook pawn. Well, what does this mean? I like to start off by making a bet with students, and I'll tell them, I'll say, I bet you I can give you a bishop, a pawn, and a king, and I'll have just my king left, and you can't beat me. And they'll say, oh, you're just going to set up a stalemate. And I'll say, no, 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 no tricks. It won't be stalemate. You can play moves. It's not going to be a forced draw immediately. I'll give you a bishop and a pawn, and I'll take nothing except my king, and you can't win. So they all say, all right, whatever, sure, let's do it. The problem is we have in chess the endgame known as the wrong color rook pawn. Now this endgame arises when you have a rook pawn. A rook pawn means a pawn on the A file, that's where your rook starts, or the H file, where your rook starts. In this case, the A file. Now, you also have a bishop. Okay? The bishop is of the wrong color. The A pawn, in this instance, wants to advance and queen on a white square. Problem, we have a dark square bishop, which cannot control the square A8. Now, of course, if the black king was too far away, white could win. But as long as the black king remains somewhere in the vicinity of the A8 square, as long as it can get to the A8 square, this is a draw. There is nothing white can do. Why? Because it is a rook pawn. There is no file to the left of the A file in this case for the white king to maneuver over to. He just simply can't keep going. He can't leave the board. So let's see how it might work. Okay? So A5 is a reasonable starting move. We notice our bishop controls A7, so the black king is forced back either to B8 or A8. And those are the two squares that the king will make his home. Now, if we try what we know normally in chess, which is the king belongs in front of the pawn, that doesn't work. Our king cannot go to B7, and there's no square to the left of A7 for us to go to. Plus, black has opposition anyway. Now, we can take opposition away from black, but notice that it actually doesn't matter. They go to B8, and now this would be the case where we'd like to play off to the left to control the A8 square, but our king cannot move that direction. So, alright, let's try maybe checking the king away. Well, the problem is after king A8, we already have to be careful of stalemate. There are no legal moves. For example, if we play a move like king B6, Houston, we have a problem. That's a stalemate already. And if we simply retreat, well, the king can step up to B7. Okay, let's take B7 away. The king steps back to A8, and now what do you do? If you advance with the king, stalemate again. Okay, if you advance with the pawn, well, I'll take you. And if you move your bishop anywhere, even staying on the same diagonal, my king will always have one of these squares to move to. Whichever one you take away, I'll just go to the other one. And if you try to take them all away, for example, maneuvering your king around, well, now we have all the squares taken away, but the king is not in check. Our bishop is of the wrong color. It would love to just step over or up a square, but it can't. This is a stalemate again. So the wrong color rook pawn means you are up a pawn in the endgame, you even have a bishop, it is a rook pawn, and you cannot queen it. This is a book draw, a textbook draw, a forced draw. Now, why is that important? Well, I actually had a student reach the following position in a game. Now, his opponent played badly to get here. He in fact sacrificed a pawn because he thought he could force a draw in a position where he was losing. Okay, king on f5, there we go. And we arrived at this position very late in the endgame. Black has just given up a pawn, and now black plays the move knight takes h4. Of course, it would also help if we had it set so that it was black's turn. So let me go ahead and do that. Let's just move this away. There we go. Okay, there we go. And black plays knight takes h4 check. Okay, and black is convinced that this is a draw. Now, white made the most common mistake that all students make. White moved too quickly. Never move quickly in chess. Take your time, be careful, try to understand what's happening in the position. And white just saw he was in check. He saw that he could capture a knight for free, so white immediately took the knight, did not pay attention to what black's point was. And the point was now black simply played king h8, and what do we notice? We have a white square bishop. Our pawn is trying to queen on a dark square, and yes, it is a rook pawn. This is the wrong color rook pawn. Now remember, a pawn on any of the other squares, you can easily make a queen even if the bishop is of the wrong color, because the king can simply step to the side. But here, the problem is, our king cannot get to the side over here. If we just moved everything over one file, or two, we'll move it all over one file, put it on a dark square. Okay, we'll put everything on a dark square over towards the middle of the board. This, of course, is an easy win. You don't even need to have opposition in your favor, okay, because you just simply move up, king moves to the side. Now, of course, we can take opposition, but even if we couldn't, we could tempo with the bishop as much as we need. Now we control the queening square. You see the king can move to the side is the point, and take over this square. Alright, now let's head back to our example. Okay. Alright. So remember, in this game, black has just played the move. Knight takes h4 check. Okay, we had bishop b4, knight takes h4 check. Now, white immediately recaptured, wrong color rook pawn. White drew this game despite being ahead 2 pawns in the endgame. This is just a forced draw. Okay. Instead, can you spot the correct move? It's not so easy to see. It's to keep this pawn on the board. We don't have a rook pawn, we have a knight pawn, and it's even the right color. We play king g5, exclamation point, and white wins no matter what. If you notice, all of the knight squares are covered. There is no knight move that is safe. Even here, we simply take. Okay, so the knight is actually trapped on the edge of the board after king g5. And, of course, next move we are not going to take it with the pawn. If the knight stays on h4, let's say a king move of some kind, maybe even hoping for the wrong color rook pawn and heading to the corner, we take with the king. We preserve the knight pawn, and this is a win. So the wrong color rook pawn is a very critical idea to know. It's a very necessary endgame theory idea to understand. It can save you a win in a case where if you move too quickly, it will be a draw. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember to rate it, leave a comment if you wish, and subscribe.